It's kind of cool to be wearing shorts and T-shirts on November 5th. Only thing crazier would be if the Cubs won the World Series. Ha ha. No, it's exciting to be in game week for us, starting Friday. Really looking forward to getting out and going. For all the teams in the country, not just us, the way the non-conference is set up, you have a ton of games in November and December, and every game, the games are real bunched up. So for us, starting Friday, we play 5 games in 10 days in 3 different cities. So it's going to be a really important first couple weeks of the season to, especially here, these first 2 games, come out of the gates and try to play well and take care of our home court before we hit the road to Indianapolis for Butler and then to Brooklyn for our Thanksgiving tournament. So I saw a lot of positive things in our exhibition game Friday. Anytime you play this early, there are going to be, there's going to be, tend to have some sloppiness and some things, but we played a lot of guys and took a look at a lot of different lineups. But overall, I thought there was a lot of positives, and some guys have really made some jumps from last year. Scotty Lindsey, Gavin Skelly. I think their production is going to be huge. Certainly, the addition of Isaiah Brown. You guys see his scoring ability is going to be big for this team, and the ability to make things happen. And then Vic is going to be fine. I thought he just was really nervous on Friday. He hadn't played in over a year, and he wants to do so well. So it took him a while to kind of relax and just play. But I thought those last 6-7 minutes of the game, he saw the ball go in and started to play much better. So be anxious to get going on Friday night and can't take anything for granted. And I know our guys are looking forward to getting going with the season.
So has Isaiah already worked, based on the exhibition performance, is he already going to be more a factor in your rotation than you expected, or is that just kind of one?
I actually expected him to be ready to play right away. Some guys just have an air of confidence to their games, and, for him, he's a real gym rat, and one of the more underrated areas in our country is out in Seattle. Out in the Pacific Northwest, you look in the NBA, there's a ton of guys from that area. It's, to me, one of the most, you talk about the great cities of basketball talent. Seattle is one of those cities that quietly kind of has a lot of really good players. And, Isaiah in the summertime plays in those open gyms with Jamal Crawford and Isaiah Thomas and Brandon Roy and all those guys that, have been great players and guards out of that area. And he's a baller. He believes he's good. He's going to make some young mistakes, no question about it, as he learns this level when he can, where he has to pick and choose his spots. But, for him, anytime you have a guy that can come in and have that kind of production in a short amount of time, he can single-handedly change a game. Comes in and gets 8 quick points, or the other night he gets 18 in 23 minutes. So I expected him to be in the mix right away, and he's been all that and more. So I'm excited to see what he can become. And I think he and McIntosh play really well together. They've developed a nice friendship, and Bryant's kind of taken him under his wing, and they like playing with one another. And I think you're seeing in college a lot of teams are doing that more, where you're playing 2 kind of ball handling guards, that multiple guys who can make plays and create for others. So, I think you're going to see those guys out on the floor a lot together during the year, which is going to be exciting to watch too.
Pardon, I was limping around and missed some time in the second half. How has he been doing the past couple of days, and how important is it for him to stay healthy this season?
Yeah, it's huge. And, fortunately, it was just he got a knee to the thigh. Little Charlie horse. You guys know how much that hurts when you get that, and then as a reaction to that, he came back in and had a little bit of cramping in the second half. So it was a precaution. We just took him out. We had a big lead, and like you said, he's so important to our success. We need him out. It was no reason for us to kind of push it on Friday night. So he's responded well over the weekend. He's feeling good, and nothing going forward, but. Big key to our success, no question. His athleticism and size and his activity around the basket, shot blocking, all those things are huge. Last year he had, penchant to get in foul trouble a lot, and I think he's really worked hard and tried to study film on how to play smarter this year, because he knows, we need him on the floor for heavy minutes.
Well, now that the games start counting, how do you balance playing your best guys and also trying to get minutes to some of the younger guys who maybe won't play as much during the Big Ten season?
Well, I mean, certainly in an exhibition game, my goal coming into that game was to get everybody a chance to play and see what they could do. And, I was even proud of myself looking at the stat sheet. I think all 11 scholarship guys that were healthy played at least 12 minutes in the game. That's hard to get 11 guys double figure minutes. So I was happy that I was able to do that in that game. In the second half in particular, we played some different lineups and tried some things out that we probably wouldn't do as much in the regular season. Now that you get in the season, you got to win. You got to. It's fine and good to play around and tinker with things, but coming now, I mean, everything matters. Like you said, every game counts, and they all count the same. And now the period of experimentation is kind of over. We have to start developing a rotation, and I think the good thing is I think our guys all have a clear sense of what their roles are. We've talked about that a lot in the off season. We've made that not only to those guys individually, but we talk about roles in front of the other guys on the team. And, the best teams are the ones where everybody embraces their role and understands what they do can be as instrumental to you winning as what anyone on the team does. So we've tried to do a lot of that this fall, is the establishment of roles and what guys bring to the table. And I think for the most part, our guys have done a good job accepting that and believing in their roles and hopefully starring in them.
Chris, is there any area you've looked for McIntosh to give you more than he has given you the first 2 years?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. He's got to get to the free throw line more. That was something. First off, he's a 90% free throw shooter, so when he gets there, it's going to be free points for us. Secondly, that was a weakness of our team last year. Was our ability to get to the free throw line. We were way down. If you look at the league statistics, and we relied heavily on making shots and spreading the floor and things of that nature. And I think one of the things we have to do is find a way to get to the line and get more points. And he's a guy that needs to do that. And also I think for him, he's a much improved defender. He's really guarding his position well so far this summer and the fall. He's much more instinctive on that end. He's stronger. He's rebounding better. So I think those little things, those dirty work type plays, charges, loose balls, long rebounds, we know what he's going to do in the offense. He runs our offense to a T, the maestro and the pick and roll, all those things. But I think his next step is to do some of those things I talked about. And I think if you look at him physically, he looks much stronger. He looks older. He's got more of a man's body now, and I think it'll help him, with the physicality, especially as we get into the conference play after Christmas.
Do you think that you'll continue to start Lindsey over Falzone as you did on Friday? And have you gotten any more of an idea of what the lineup will be in the 2 through 4 positions?
Yeah, I really feel like that. It's been shown. I really feel like we have 7 guys in my eyes that are like starters. The 5 guys we started the other night, plus Skelly and Falzone. And so I want all 7 of those guys to have a starter's mentality. I wanted to take a look at that game starting the other night just to see how that lineup started the game. I think you could see nights where Aaron and or Gavin could be in there as well. So we've played around with that all fall. You guys know me. I'm not one to stand pat if it's not working. Most likely going into Friday, it'll probably be the same lineup, that we started the other night, but it's not set in stone. And, one of the things about Aaron's been battling, some knee issues throughout the summer. So, he's been in and out of practice a little bit, and it's hurt his ability to be healthy at all times. He's okay to play, and he played the other night, but, it's been tougher because he hasn't been able to be in there all summer and all fall. So we're trying to get him back to 100% and get him going on all cylinders. He's a huge key, as you know, with his shooting and his spacing. And he started all year last year. So, like I said, I think we have 7 starters and some combination of those 7 guys. I'd like to not have to start Isaiah Brown just because I like what he brings off the bench. I love his scoring punch and energy and pop. And so those other 7 guys, I think it'll be some combination of them on a nightly basis.
Coach, last year in the opener against UMass Lowell, kind of started slow, and you mentioned some jitters. Do you think that's just inevitable in that first regular season game, or is there anything you can do this week to try to combat that to an extent?
Yeah, I think you got to be careful talking about it too much. I mean, we have guys that care so much, so they get out in that first game. They've been working so hard all summer, all fall, and then you get in that first game, and inherently you're just going to be a little bit more nervous because it's the first game of the year. So what I try to do is talk to them about, throw yourself into the game. Can we get out and get a layup? Can we get an offensive rebound? Can we get a steal, that leads to something easy? And, one of the things I always talk about the first game of the year is if you can see it go in the basket a little bit early, it kind of lets the air out of the balloon. All of a sudden you come out and you rely on jump shots and you miss your first 3 or 4. You could get tight and nervous. And, I don't want our guys to play like that. And that's been a big focus is trying to play loose, trying to play, even though you're locked in and you're serious and you want to win. Our group needs to be loose. They need to play with confidence. They need to shoot freely. They need to rely on each other. That's the only way that we're going to be good. So that's going to be the common message, for me as we go into the season.
It's Thursday signing day.
I think Wednesday.
Talking generalities, smaller class. Could you add somebody later? What do you anticipate?
Small class now. Not allowed to talk about it till we get on the sign on the dotted line. But right now, it's a small class. This is going to be a small class for us. I mean, our 2 seniors are Sanjay and Taphorn. So, and I'm excited about everybody else that's in our program. So I don't see a lot of roster turnover outside of those 2 guys. So, even we'll have some flexibility to add, whether it be with another high school player or to be involved in the transfer game. I think you are all seeing it's a huge market now. A lot of these teams, and we've utilized it, 5th-year transfers, mid-season transfers, 4-year guys. There's such a big market now in recruiting. It's almost like you have your high school market, you got your 4-year transfers, and then you got your grad transfers. There's like 3 different markets, and you're almost negligent if you don't have something to be in that game. If you don't bank 1 or 2 to kind of be in that game, because there's such a market for players in the spring with those other 2 areas.
So because of that, you are not reticent to offer scholarships, but has it changed? You don't want to offer it to a high school kid unless you're
Yeah, no,
sure.
Well, I just think, look at our roster now. I think we're more like when earlier in my tenure, you might grab a little more, because you do have a lot of spots to fill and, things of that nature. I think now our roster is pretty stable. We have a group of guys right now because we are a development place, where you come and get better and hopefully become an older team. And, we have a lot of guys. We've also been, whether it be injury or what we were going to do we're in a position now to redshirt a little bit, and because of having a lot of veteran guys, and we're doing that with Rapolis. So, I mean, he's going to go back into the class next year. So, I think for a lot of reasons, it's helped us be a little bit more selective, and because we have a number of guys that are earlier in their careers, I think in this class in particular, we tried to really go after some guys we thought could be difference makers for our program. And we're excited about what we're adding, and certainly we're going to have the flexibility throughout the year, whether it be mid-season or in the spring, to add even more, which I think is exciting as well. All right, thanks, guys.